Leonardo and Michelangelo have captured the minds of millions for over 5 centuries. As the two towering Renaissance men of their age, each master earned the ultimate admiration of their peers as well as from future generations. Added to this fact is that each master was multifaceted. Michelangelo was a sculptor, painter, architect, and poet, while Leonardo is perhaps the greatest polymath to have ever walked the earth. The public's curiosity, however, has always gone beyond just accepting each genius for what they were, as human nature has always driven us to pit the greatest participants in any particular field against each other ever since the beginning of time. The Greeks invented the Olympics, the Romans gladiatorial bouts and chariot races. Even in modern America, athletes compete against one another. Guitar gods are rated by fans and editors, while historians perpetually rank the presidents. Therefore, although we know Leonardo and Michelangelo were both geniuses of the highest order, they each will be assessed not only by their individual merits and personal traits, but historians and an author who have judged each titan unfairly will also be critiqued. For example, as for each master's attempts at architecture, Leonardo has largely been disregarded since no standing edifice is known to be his creation. Meanwhile, Michelangelo designed minor attributes of St. Peter's Basilica, the Capitoline Square, and contributed to facades in Florence. He even made sketches for a fortress. In this last regard, we can assess each master's creativity by the existing sketches they left us. To begin with, Michelangelo's approach to architecture was largely along Renaissance styles, with very subtle aesthetic nuances. Although beautiful standing on their own, they were not distinctive enough for the layperson to distinguish a facade by Michelangelo or any other Renaissance architect, as indicated here with the new sacristy in St. Lorenzo. The same holds true in fortress design. Michelangelo's designs likewise feature some subtle nuances unique to his aesthetic, but largely follow the then-recent concept of a star-shaped fortress. This was believed to protect the fortress's walls from cannon fire and allow defenders in the fortress to have unobstructed lines of sight to enemy infantry, as well as to avoid dead zones around the fortress where attackers could conceal themselves and scale the walls. However, Michelangelo's designs, as noted, follow the old-fashioned formula of making high, thick walls to ward off cannonballs, which at the time were non-explosive. Meanwhile, as for Leonardo's attempts at designing a fortress, we can see that his approach was radically innovative. Beyond the structure's almost Star Wars-like aesthetics, we can see that Leonardo's ring-shaped fortress was circular in concept, from its foundational footprint to the round-shaped walls themselves, which would deflect cannon fire. Leonardo's ring supported a series of openings around the entire circumference for the defenders to fire at the enemy. Additionally, the inner concentric ring was slightly higher than the outer ring, giving it a clear line of sight to the enemy in all directions, thus creating multiple layers of defense. Leonardo's stealth edifice featured a low profile that hugged the terrain, seriously limiting the successful attempts of incoming fire. Meanwhile, Michelangelo's typical high-walled fortress was an easy target, or as they say, as easy as hitting the side of a barn. In this regard, Leonardo proved that he was far more imaginative, one who went well beyond aesthetics and into the practical realms of innovation that simply didn't exist in his day. For as he said himself, "I awoke only to find that the rest of the world was still asleep." To read and see more visual comparisons about these two titans, get your copy of Leonardo vs. Michelangelo by going to Amazon.com or other ebook retailers. Logical analysis coupled with visual evidence will be presented that will broaden your understanding of these two super geniuses, who unfortunately are still misunderstood by some people today.